Thank you everyone for coming back from the lunch. Hope you had a good break for the lunch time. And welcome back to the first session in the afternoon. It's actually a keynote, first keynote session. First, apologies, we have a change in the chair because Professor Zhang Golley is on well today, so hosting the session is a third class. My name is Xiaobo, I'm the director of the China Economy Course. So just very welcome to you to join us in this session. And maybe I just borrow this opportunity to thank everyone who has taken the time to be in this conversation with us. It's very valuable, help us sort of understand the great speak. And also, I would like to thank our volunteers who have worked very hard to put out this program and put together this. So, yes, it's my great pleasure to present to our keynote speaker, Professor Xiaobo Zhang. Professor Xiaobo Zhang is chair professor of economics at the Bonhua School of Management, Peking University, and a senior fellow at this week. He is one of the top development economists, specialists from China. So I guess without much need to reading into his extensive publications, he's known as the leading journal, which is the China Economic Review. I think he's one of the best people we can learn from about development economics, the China's economy, and in particular to digital transformation and entrepreneurship evolution. So we will hear from Professor Zhang for about 35 minutes, and then at the end, there will be a round of Q&A. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle and Gang, for inviting me back to China after the game. Last time, it was 2017, 8 years has passed. It's so glad. I'm so glad to see so many old friends and colleagues here. Together we'll talk about digital transformation and entrepreneurship. Li Gang had give a very good outline and argued digital transformation covers so many things. It's a very broad concept. But here, I'll cover all the dimensions of digital transformation. I will only focus on e-commerce. So the one element of digital transformation. Also, you talk about their impact on many dimensions, many outcomes. But here, I will mainly talk about the impact on entrepreneurship. So my talk, I will first talk about a few milestones related to China's e-commerce development, and then look at the impact on the levels and the compositions of entrepreneurship in China, largely based on currently conducted surveys in China. Let's start with this figure. This morning showed a similar figure, but I started a little early on. China's e-commerce started around 2003, 2004, right after the first pandemic, SARS pandemic. If you look at the history, Xiaobo.com and JD.com was set up right after SARS. So actually, e-commerce is a way to help cope with the shocks. Pandemic restrictions, people have to buy things online. So this provides opportunities for e-commerce development. Crisis begets opportunities. That's a Chinese saying. So you can see that's true. So that's the beginning of China's e-commerce. Coincides with the first pandemic, SARS pandemic. The second milestone is Alibaba set up Tmall.com in 2008 to promote B2C trade. Taobao is C2C, B2C is video to consumers. So they try to attract more registered companies to set up online shops in order to ensure quality of their products. The next one is a major one. 2013, that is a milestone for several reasons. One is, I think in your previous figure, you already see a figure similar to this one. I think in Yu Rose figure, I found the timing that same. She looked at show a figure 2013, 2014 is a turning point. Why? Because at that time, China has rolled out 3G, 4G network, or very built up infrastructure in the last previous 3 years. Smartphone was introduced, so that the Alipay app was introduced on smartphone on that year. Also, Xiaobo was introduced on same year. WeChat Pay was introduced same year. Shall we show that too? So there are many things happened in that time. So it's jumpstart the economy, provide the necessary infrastructure. Also, the smartphone allow people to make purchase much easier than before on their computers. So you can see the increase in the turnover of online turnovers in 2013 is a very strong in growth rate. So by 2013, there were already more than 300 million users in Alipay. Alipay is mainly for business users. WeChat covers more individual users for payment. So Alipay is the world's largest mobile payment platform, including for business. So Professor Yiping Huang and his team published a well-cited index. I think that the paper with the index is the most cited paper ever, Chinese paper in China. You can see.
And I was not in the author.
You're
sharing.
Yeah. So you can see his team. You can see the growth rate also a peak around 2013. So different index in the same direction. That 2013 is a turning point. So this is called the digital finance index. And also we want to argue the infrastructure plays a very important role in promoting e-commerce. So the left map shows the number of newly constructed 3G, 4G tower between 2013 and 17. And the right figure shows the e-commerce business index from Alibaba. You can see they are very similar. The spatial patterns are very similar. I think because of the rapidly increasing infrastructure and spread of smartphones and also the applications of the mobile payment system, China experienced very rapid e-commerce growth. So since 2013, China has become the largest e-commerce market. Its growth rate even been faster than in the US and Europe since then. So you can see the turning point. Another thing you will notice around 2019-20, there's another turning point. The growth rate pick up again. Why? COVID. So let's first test the infrastructure plays a very important role in the first turning point. So this is from a recent paper published in Journal of Economic Law and Organization. So we showed the exposures to CG 3G 4G network contribute to the increasing number of new entrants. So you can see very positive correlations. I want to go to the details of the regression. We try to explain the first upward trend around 2013. And the impact is we see a heterogeneous effect. Henry has argued that you see some impact may be stronger for IT related, maybe negative for other sectors. If you run regressions for different sectors, you can see some positive impact for e-commerce related manufacturing, e-commerce related wholesale retail, IT business, express service sectors. But you see exactly impact for traditional wholesale retail. That's very natural. Also very little impact on other industries, which lack direct connection to e-commerce. So you do see heterogeneous effect, some positive, some negative. Then now let's go to the second trend. So you can see the e-commerce related entrance accelerated after COVID-19. The reason is during the COVID-19, China has the most draconic lockdowns. When people were not allowed to go outside, they have to buy everything online. So they spurred the opportunity for the development of the platform, also stimulate demand, online demand. So you look at the official number from the national statistics. The top line, the left figure, top line is online sales. The vertical dash line is the lockdown. You can say after lockdown, e-commerce actually pick up. Initially suffered a little bit, and then grocery have been positive since then. But for the bottom line, is the offline sales suffer a lot. The grocery have been negative. That's why there's a negative impact on the wholesalers, traditional wholesaler retailers, but the positive impact on online sales because they increase the demand on online sales. So for those businesses which will engage in online sales, there was a golden opportunity. So we did a survey in 2018. We surveyed more than 6,000 SMEs. They asked them whether they had online sales or not. So after COVID struck, we made a phone call to them. We asked them whether their business they opened, was a cash flow status, etc. So this from our phone survey in 2020, May and August. So we can see for those who are engaged in online sales before COVID, they perform much better in cash flow. If you look at all the indicators, account receivable, return period, return period of authority, account payable, e-commerce, the COVID is a good opportunity for them. So this is why there are so many entrants for e-commerce. So we also run a regression to test this idea. After the COVID, we did the online 4 rounds of phone surveys. And since the third quarter of 2020, we have been working with Alibaba, the Alipay platform, to distribute our phone surveys online. So every quarter, we receive about 10,000 responses. So we have done that for 21 quarters, more than 5 years. So we can look at exposures to what's the impact of exposures to local COVID restrictions on the subsequent from entries and the subsequent digital technology adoptions. So here we show the impact on entries. So we can divide the entry into 2 groups: e-commerce related, non-e-commerce related. You can see after exposure to the coffee shop, there was a drop in the entries. But the impact is smaller for the e-commerce related, but also bounce back more quickly for the e-commerce. The entries after several quarters, several months, the growth rate became positive. But for the non-e-commerce related, you can see the growth rates have been around 0. So most of the growth in new entries are in the e-commerce related sector. So that's for the extensive market. How about for the intensive market? For those incumbents, what they do, they also try to change their business model, adopt more e-commerce. So we also try to look at the business reference database. There's a business scope. If they change, update the business scope to include e-commerce sales, some keywords. We have a dictionary of the keyword related to e-commerce. We can count those who e-commerce who have changed their business scope to include e-commerce. They can count them as the more like intensive market. We can see very similar pattern. For the incumbents, we also see more incumbents after the location exposed to COVID restrictions. There are more incumbents change their business models to incorporate e-commerce. So this for the entrance. Your awesome model, we call the awesome model, quarterly online survey of micro and small enterprises. Awesome. You can see the corporate data. We also each quarter we ask them whether you have online sales. Also, we have about different type of information system. You can see there's increase, in particular after the end of 2020. You know, China had the most strict lockdown by that period. Suddenly opened up. So you can see the quite a rapid increase in the 2 measures, the online operations and also the percentage of adopting information system. There's also probably some evidence that COVID spurred the adoption of digital technologies, in particular with e-commerce. Now let's go to the second part to look at the impact, business impact. I mainly focus on a few groups. One is the outsiders, non-local people, women, older people, and also informed business. For the overall impact, I'll then show you public impact on entries. Now let me look at the heterogeneous impact. Why the impact is bigger for outsiders and women? Let me show a picture I took in Bangalore. Sorry, too nervous. They cannot read the I took the photo in Bangalore, one of the largest called Xiaobo village. Close to 500,000 people were engaged in suitcase and bag production. Traditionally, there was the largest wholesale market. The market is as large as T3 terminal in Peking airport. You imagine more than 10,000 shops. And then in the last 10 years, e-commerce pumped up in the industry cluster. If you go outside, you see the first floor we call suppliers, online suppliers. So if you go inside, they hang on the samples of suitcase. For the buyers, they leave all the upstairs in their apartments. So look like this. These are ordinary apartment buildings. They go inside, people work from at their home. So they go to the online supply shop, they pick up a model, design like this one, and then you use USB, copy the picture, and then go up there, upload picture in their online shop. When they receive the order, they come back to the downstairs to the supplier shop, get the suitcase and pack it at home, and then let this get delivered to the market, sent to the market. So they how this working. From this business model, you can see a few things. The cost of doing business is quite low because you can stay in your own apartment. And also, you can see more women working here. I even told to them, this girl is from Shandong province, not from Hebei province. So you don't need to work with others. Basically, you only need to go to the downstairs to copy a picture and give the cash. About to sell your bag, you receive cash back in 2 weeks. In the whole process, you don't need to build the connections. You don't need to trade the credit. So the reliance on working capital is minimal. Rely on the entry cost is minimal. Rely on social capital is minimal. You don't need to do the social network. You know, the traditional way to do business, you need in Chinese you drink a lot of baijiu, travel far away. This only good is mostly a man doing this kind of whole trading business. But women don't have comparative advantage. But in e-commerce age, women offenders, this is a playing field for them. Maybe this is good for them. They don't have any disadvantage. Moreover, they can take care of family because you have better family work balance. And also, I will argue the digital finance matters a lot. Sherry and EP will probably know this a lot. I will provide more evidence. So for all the combination of factors, you see this business model is good for women. Now let's provide some evidence based on this was field survey in Bangalore. So we look at different business models. Like the online shops is top. B2C is like Xiaobo. So and also B2B, the online shops on the downstairs. You can see that different people work on these two groups, the two sectors. For the Xiaobo shops, the first column, 78% of them are from outside background. But for the suppliers, online suppliers, the ratio opposite. More than 70% of them are local because they have connections, they know where to buy the products, they know how to organize relations. Also, they're more capital intensive. So you can see the model is very different. This model favorable to outside people, in particular for the online shops. And of course, you can run regressions to test this idea. In particular, the impact of like connections to 3G, 4G network. We have access to the business registry database. We can tabulate the number of new entries at each county for every industry. This depend matters the number of new entries, the number of entries, non-local ratios of the entries, also the average registered capital of new entrants. So this represents the capital entry barriers. You can see the e-commerce development is negatively associated with the capital requirement. We need less capital requirement for starting a e-commerce business. Also, there is good for non-local people. Before 2015, we have access to the national ID number. The first 6 digits of the national ID review whether they are local or outside. So we run the version from the Greek sample. We could test the idea. Indeed, this model is good for outsiders. And also the new entries are generally smaller. And then now we talk about the good things about for the outsiders. Let's move on to the impact on female entrepreneurship. I offer 3 pieces of evidence. The first one is there's a very famous super rich report for the whole world. There's a headline that mentioned China has 2/3 of the world's most successful women entrepreneurs. But China only accounts for maybe 1/4 of the total population. You can see Chinese super rich women are overrepresented worldwide. So that's one piece of evidence. The second piece of evidence is look at the business registration to look at the time trend. The last one, we also have some survey evidence from Golley survey and also survey. Let's go one by one. The first one, I go to the second one to look at the time trend for the new entrants, whether women or more by women or more by men. I said earlier, after 2018, we don't have access to the gender information anymore. But we can use machine learning to infer the gender information. Before that, we have their names, we have the gender. So we can use that as a study set. We can run the algorithm to predict the gender information. The Chinese name involves a lot of information on gender. Some names relate like flowers are more like related to female names. Some names relate like soldier, the name soldier or army, they're more related to man's name. So we can predict that. And we can also use our field survey to double check the accuracy. We found the accuracy more than 95%. So this is the figure we predict. You can see before 2015, we have an actual number, predict number. After 2015 is a predict number. We observe definitely there's a rising trend in female entrepreneurship last 2 decades, starting from around 15 to nearly maybe 28% by 2020. How about after 2020? How about those with not registered? Here's only from the formal registration database. Now, Professor Yiping's team published a very influential report during COVID. They found there were many unregistered self-employed businesses. So if we include them, we will observe the same pattern or not. So this is a research question. But this spatially, you can also see the diffusion of female entrepreneurship over time and also across regions. So this one is from Awesome survey, Golley online survey. You can see also increasing trend in the last 5 years, from 2020 all the way to very recent, the 3rd quarter of this year. A very rapid increase. So by the latest quarter, so the ratio is about 40% of the entrepreneurs, the small business owners, women, owned by women. So people may be interested why there's a rising female entrepreneurship in China. You look at the policies. China didn't have any specific policy targeting women, such as microfinance, like in Bangladesh or India. No. Training entrepreneurs, almost no, I never heard about it. And gender social norms, probably not. Also some personal characteristics, like innate factor, don't change over time, like risk factors. So there must be something else at play. So we argue it's mainly because digitalization. So this is the female entrepreneurship, here the share you can see has increased very rapidly across all over China. So this all when we do any economic analysis, I always tell you it's better to visualize to show the correlations. So here again, we borrow Professor Yiping Huang's group's index, digital finance index. The horizontal line is the PPU digital finance index in 2020. The vertical line is a change in the share of female entrepreneurs at the city level during the 5-year period. You can see a very clear pattern. there's a positive correlation. So once you see this, if you run regression control for other variables, you still see the positive impact. So there's a bunch of evidence that writing entrepreneurship is correlated with the development of digitalization. Of course, we can also run regressions, use the COVID as a resultant shock. So look at after a region was exposed to COVID infections, what the subsequent impact on their online operations and the digital online sales, and also the adopt. You can see the first one is the time variable, whether they have online operations after that, and the last online sales, you see the positive impact. The interesting you can think about is more like digitalization index, because it is related to the COVID restrictions. But this impact is more pronounced for women. For the man, the panel B, you can see almost no impact. This way, because as I argued before, the business model is more suitable for women. Women can come to like their very advantage in e-commerce. So there are several mechanisms I already talked about: lower capital entry barriers, less requirement for working capital. So I mainly talk about for capital requirement. We also can run separate regressions on the registered capital for the new entrants. But this from our surveys. In our survey based on the 2018, we look at their online sales. We also look at their registered capital. You can see there was negative impact correlation for female-owned business, but not for the male-owned business. Once again, you can see the business model is particularly good for women. The funding hold up, whether we look at the bottom 5% in registered capital or media. So we want to show that e-business model have a lower entry barriers. The second mechanism is e-commerce less than the working capital requirement. Because I said earlier, you have very fast cash flow. You don't need to rely on trade credit from your upstream or downstream business. Sherry and the co-author have written a few similar papers using the data set. And here you just look at the simple figure. In our survey, we asked whether they have received online loans, offline loans. So if you look at the gender difference, you'll find for online loans, the left panel, the female entrepreneurs are more likely to receive online loans than male entrepreneurs. But for the offline loans, this one, there's no difference. So in traditional, for traditional credit, women don't have any advantage. But for online business, women have advantage. They're more likely to receive loans. Although the result is consistent across all the cultures, you can see women always are more likely to receive online loans. And also, because we have access to the transaction records of our surveyed respondent entrepreneurs, the Alipay platform also directly provide loans to their users. So this from their record, especially record, we find exactly the same pattern. Female entrepreneurs have a 2 percentage points higher approval rate for online loans than the male entrepreneurs. So this from their, not from our survey data, from their transaction data. And moreover, women receive the loans women receive have lower interest rate than men. So the interest rate is about 0.4 percentage point. That's representing a 6.6 decrease compared to the average online APR. So women are more likely to receive loans and also at a lower interest rate. Why? One reason is because women have denser digital footprints in online world. In my home, my wife does all the shopping online. She has much higher CCV score, the credit score than me. So you look at here, they also from the trading record, Alipay platform provide us our sampled entrepreneurs. You can see women have higher credit score. So when I talk to the merchant bank, whether they use gender as a predictor when they run digital loans, they say no, there's no, according to Chinese law, gender is not allowed to be a factor in digital finance. But credit score is definitely the most important factor. So women have higher credit score, naturally they are more likely to get loans, also at a more favorable rate. So this is also from the intermediate record. So women have lower delinquency record. So women pay loans always more on time, 2 percentage point higher rate. So it's also considered the systemic score figure. So if we draw regressions on whether they, first of all, we want to show women have higher digital credit score, the first column, that's true. Secondly, for those women are more likely to receive online credit, the second column, for the coefficient. For the third column, we control for systemic credit score. You can see after 8 credit score, the coefficient for women become almost negative. The coefficient, the significant level dropped to 1 star. So the women's advantage disappear. Female advantage in extended credit disappear. Because the algorithm, for the algorithm mainly from credit score. Finally, the mechanism related to the working hour balance. So in our survey, we also ask how many hours you work. So you can see for male, female, online, offline, for business, for work. So the message from this figure is that women for online sales, for e-business, women can spend more time on their family chores for housework here. So that's why women are more like, also more likely to work in the e-commerce sector. Almost done. So the regression we can skip. We also argue this maybe this model is maybe good for older people. Even here we look at the share of young entrepreneurs. You can see downward trend. But for shares of older entrepreneurs, that's for women over 55, men over 60. This is a retirement age in China. You can see the rising trend for older entrepreneurs in China. Lastly, there's a rising trend of informal business. This also follows up Professor Yiping's Huang's team's work. So in COVID, the public report, they said they found from the Alipay platform, they found the number of self-employed business was 55% higher than the official registered number. So there are many unregistered self-owned business. So in our survey, we asked them whether they are registered or not. So we have done that in the last 21 quarters. We found a similar pattern. In the last quarter of 2020, our numbers matched Professor Huang's team. We found the number is 62% higher compared to 55%. Your team probably started work in the early 2020. This is the end. So it's matched up very nicely. But you look at the time trend. By the end, the third quarter of 2025, the last survey available, the number has increased to 124%. So that means the increasing number of business are not registered anymore. So that you can see the trending trend of informal business as well. So if you plot this, you think about the horizontal lines, the digital finance index at the city level. Normally, when you in Shanghai, you can see they have very high digital index. They are richer places, but you observe more informed business. Share of informed business. Also, the trend increase over time. The two lines, one line is for 2020, one line is for 2025. You see the trend. There is positive correlation between the share of informed business and the digitalization development. Positive correlation. Secondly, over time, there's rising trend. Of course, as more people move to the online world, the competition will be more intense. The cost will also increase. If you talk to the entrepreneurs, of online business, they all complained their branding promotion cost. You have spent a lot on the pay to the platform, pay to the platform. You can see the marketing cost for the offline and online. The online cost for marketing is higher than offline cost. Also, there's a bit of a expectation, some question on the expectation. What to expect for the next quarter in terms of cost? You can see the MSCs, online MSCs are more pessimistic about the revenue cost than offline business. In particular, in the last last 2 years, you can see a very clear trend. So e-commerce is not a panacea. So as it levels the playing field, but to create more competition, the cost will also increase. We'll squeeze out the profit margin over time. So let me conclude. So overall, we found in China there's a rising very fast digital transformation resulted from supply side and demand side factors. Digital transformation expand the bandwidth of entrepreneurship, open doors to many previously open option for entrepreneurs who were previously restricted. So it provides opportunity particularly for women, older population, and local entrepreneurs. And also probably the nature of the gig economy of the platform also contributes to the increase in the share of unregistered business. So I think for any technology, they always have opportunity and challenges. So MSC continue to face new challenges in the online world. So this is based on a series of papers. Eventually, you can read them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is very comprehensive study. Well, I have just one quick question. Now, in terms of the e-platform services, does it also promote the other business companies or any targets to be smaller and parallel more competitive?
That's a good question. I didn't, because of my lectures are too long, I didn't include another paper. That's looking at the real economy. Whether it helps the lack of value will help the real economy funding need. In particular, in different clusters, that's a positive impact. That is very simple. Once you have e-commerce, it's simple to care about the salesman. Now you can sell your products all over China, even overseas. With the infinite market scope, market size, you will have finite labor. You will see more new entrants. Also, the entry tend to be very small. The 24% decline probably overlays to that.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. I think it is wonderful. I just think for the women entrepreneurs have lower delinquency rate for credit, is that possible their behavior is less risk taking compared with women, or compared with men. So for men, maybe they are more risk taking and their profitability maybe not low, but women are more cautious and take less risk. So they have a lower delinquency rate. That's just something.
It's a very good opinion. I think that's the reason. Innate, women probably have innate lower risk preference. We look at the risk factors. We survey, we have a few surveys, we have 2 modules, merit risk preference. Indeed, men on average are more risk taking than women. So probably they all relate to their preference for delinquency work.
From Peking. Looking forward from your study, AI is starting, agentic AI is starting to interfere with these digital marketplaces. I'm wondering, we've seen situations like Amazon is sort of one of them because they're, allowing the AI to do the shopping on behalf of the customer, and then you don't get to sort of experience the website where it's intended. I'm wondering if you have any sort of whether that's going to disrupt these socials with the credit scores, and whether that might, create a different outcome from what you've seen in the last year.
That's a good question because I didn't cover the AI aspect of the digital transformation, but it's going very fast. Last month, we did the field work in Xinjiang, in Yunnan province. It's a coastal city, 20-level city. It has the largest swimming street cluster. It is export world of 1/4 of the world market. You go to villages, every household engaged in swimming production. But in the last 2 years, AI is taken off because they mainly selling swimming suit in the international market. You only need to post pictures. Before if you want to sell the swimming suit in Australia, you need to maybe have a white woman wearing a swimming suit instead of other Chinese women. So you need to hire a beautiful model from Australia to beautiful. That's super expensive. You need 20,000 yuan for 2 months to get one Photoshop. You send the sample to the model agency, and then after take short photo, send it back. Super, very expensive. But for e-commerce, you want to post photos, new models all the time. But right now, you go there, there's an AI company working with the clusters. They offer services, give you subscribe service. You can generate a picture within 0.6 yuan per picture. You just buy one authentic picture, and then you can put the swimming suit. And then also animate. You can show the back and everything can post online. Even in the US, can move I showed them, I was so surprised. So basically, greatly reduce the cost of design and the cost of marketing and promotion. So basically, AI is empowering manufacturing sector. As a result, this sector is still very productive, although labor cost has become super expensive. Over there, average monthly wage for women is 10,000 yuan, like 2,000 Australian dollars. Yeah. For a village, a woman in village, that's a lot of money. But they have problem finding workers, but this skilled sector doing very well because they become more competitive in the designing stage, also marketing stage.
Thank you for that. My question is, do we have the evidence that the transformation is at the same pace for different across industries or products? Because they could be so different. Like they have different technology densities, or they have different profit rate. So I wonder, if the women are more significantly pushed into those digitalized industries, whether it is possible that in general the quality of their employment is structurally downgraded something.
That's a very good question, though. We continue to find women more like to work in the economic related sector. You can go to the online like TikTok, you see there are a lot of female influencers. In the photo, I didn't have time to elaborate. If you look at the map distribution, Northeast women, the share is very high. The reason is in Northeast women speak very good Mandarin. Only winter time, they have nothing to do. They're very good at speaking. Speak very good Mandarin very fluently. Now they are on their advantage, become influencers. So that is good thing for them. So they can learn more. And also we look at survey, they have questions on subject welfare. Are you satisfied with your life? Are you happy? So there are two measures. Actually, if you look at the online, people working online, women actually slightly more better than offline. So let's give some kind of indication. Women choose to work from home, to work like open online shop or become influencer. So they're better off.
Hi, Xiaobo. Very good presentation actually. And it's come back to my own problem or question, right? So, by many measures and, we try to find which service is productive actually. So in general, it's not. We even try to identify, we're using the ICT assets used by different services, and we try to group those most intensive use of ICT and in services, and still no encouraging results. Another question is, what you showed us those things are crowding out some others, and then all this translated into macro measurement, and you don't see productivity change, or there are problems in all these measurements. Okay.
First of all, we do find heterogeneous effect. People based on operating on different sectors.
Yeah.
Some sectors see negative impact, some are no impact at all. But I don't want to say it's calling out. I would say it's different provide on privileged population opportunity. As you said earlier, in China, the biggest problem of PLP slowdown is due to misallocations. The government spent too much on certain sectors, huge waste.
So that's still the question.
So but in this sector, you won't see the impact because it breaks down. But for the ordinary people, nothing. If at least e-commerce provides something to do.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
We probably have time for one more question.
Thank you. What I'm thinking is, so far as we know, household consumption in China is pretty steady share of GDP, not going up. So that would incline us to think that the expansion of internet commerce is at the expense of some other form of some probably retail. And so one would imagine that a consideration of role women will have to take into account not only the new opportunities for women in internet, but the fewer opportunities there are for women in retail. Is that part of your work?
Yeah.
And what's the balance?
So in e-commerce, when increase, then the retail, traditional retail sector has to talk.
But this traditional sector has the share declined. You see very clear from our analysis. Online is overall is positive. For the new entrants, you kind of combine retail hotel sector with the negative positive impact.
Thank you, Professor. I guess you have given us very detailed information and evidence on how e-commerce has enhanced inclusiveness. But I guess from the audience, what our question is about the productivity effects. Yeah. So last year, I guess, what's your view on how e-commerce actually affects, whether it's sectoral productivity or economic productivity for China?
The question they didn't cover that. Only look at the entrance, the extensive markets on the share of sales, impact for the productivity. But as much as the most difficult question, the reason is right now, we don't know how many livers or pairs. We are still surveying fund where the boundary is so perverse. There are many different types of definitions. One is the formal employee, the number of employees in Social Security, very few. Even you ask from AP in your school, how many full staff? Only maybe 40 technically they are on the payroll. I think for another layer, you care the supporting staff from the tech agency. So whether you count them or not. And also we also do not work and a piece rate. Even you also with some people like for the designer stage, they care worker designers work in the office, but they don't call them employee. They pay them as a self-employed business. Ask the designer to register self-employed business. pay Zhang to do the work into their business. The reason they try to avoid the very real, obviously the China's very strict labor law. So when you survey, because we don't know how to measure labor, so basically I found it almost impossible to measure firms' labor productivity and the GRP. So that's why I avoid it. This is another research has a documented effect. Survey, you see there's so many different forms of firm organizations, but we don't know which one is the correct answer.
Thank you so much, Professor, for the fantastic session. And then we'll wrap up this. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, we will go straight to the next session. Three speakers. First is Paul.